Welcome to Sphere Finance. I am Pricetime and you're watching Sphere TV. If you're wondering why the VE33 dexes, Dystopia and Cone are such a big deal, how they allow for positive feedback loops to attract and maintain deep liquidity, and how they differ from Curve, then this is the video for you. But first, if you haven't already, subscribe. It helps support the channel, and by ringing the bell, you will automatically be notified when we create new content. As part of Sphere's ecosystem, Dystopia was launched on the Polygon network, and Cone will be launched on the Binance Smart Chain. In addition, Sphere is working with several other chains, including Gauss Gang, AVAX, Phantom, and the new and upcoming Polygon ZK EVM to provide liquidity service products on these chains. Dystopia and Cone are VE33 dexes. VE33 was first theorized by Andre and is a concept by which participants with different objectives can cooperate in common interests. To understand how this works, we need to take a step back. Providing liquidity is a primary method of generating income in DeFi. The reason it is profitable is because it is almost like renting out real estate. By allowing other people to use your liquidity to perform swaps, liquidity providers get to earn a small percentage of that swap in the form of fees. Depending on daily volume, we are talking millions of dollars per day in fees. Different protocols like Curve allow users to deposit liquidity in order to earn from the swap volume of that protocol. In addition, protocols will provide token emissions to further incentivize users to deposit and keep their liquidity in that protocol. The problem with this model is what is known as mercenary liquidity yield farming, where users will deposit their liquidity in a protocol for only as long as there are high rewards, and once those returns are diminished, they will remove their liquidity and seek higher returns elsewhere. The emissions themselves can also be problematic because there is often limited incentive to hold onto these emissions, and so they are typically sold for profit, driving the price of these protocol emission rewards and ultimately the value of the protocol down. Curve sought to solve the problem of mercenary liquidity and emission sell pressure by introducing a voting system whereby the emissions of the protocol, or CRV, could be staked, aka vote locked, aka vote escrowed, as VE Curve. VE Curve holders could then determine the amount of emissions directed towards each liquidity pool on a weekly basis. One problem with this model is that users with different objectives are incentivized by different interests. That is, liquidity providers are incentivized to earn swap fees and CRV stakers, aka VE-CRV holders, are incentivized to earn boosted CRV, voting rights, and governance fees. VE33 introduces a different model. VE33 creates a system in which both liquidity providers and governance stakers are incentivized by one common interest: swap fee performance. Let's use Dystopia as an example to explain VE33. Liquidity providers can stake their liquidity in Dystopia to earn DYST emissions. DYST can then be vested or vote escrowed as a VE NFT to gain voting power on the different liquidity pools. The more votes a liquidity pool has, the more DYST emissions it receives for that week. So far, this is similar to Curve, with the exception of VE-DYST being tradable NFTs, creating enhanced capital efficiency. A major difference that comes with VE33 is that VE-DYST holders, not liquidity providers, receive the trading fees from the liquidity pool they vote for, as well as 10% of the total DYST emissions for that week. This creates a system where voting on liquidity pools with VE-DYST is highly incentivized because it provides voters with the highly sought after swap fee revenue. In order to earn more DYST emissions, liquidity providers are then encouraged to compete for generating the most swap fees in order to attract more veDYST holders to vote on their pools. In other words, both liquidity providers and governance stakers are incentivized to generate more swap fees. Anyone can check which liquidity pools on Dystopia have the highest volume by simply clicking on the analytics link. veDYST holders will naturally want to vote on pools that have high volume to earn more swap fee revenue, for example, WMATIC and USDC. More veDYST votes means a higher percentage of DYST emissions for that liquidity pool, meaning more liquidity providers will be incentivized to deposit liquidity there. More liquidity means more swap volume thanks to lower slippage. More swap volume means more veDYST holders will be incentivized to vote on the pool to earn swap fees, and the positive feedback loop continues. This is the spirit of VE33, the cooperation in common interests by participants with different objectives. veDYST votes will concentrate emissions in liquidity pools that generate more swap fees, while liquidity providers will deposit liquidity in these highly incentivized pools to receive the most DYST emissions. Additionally, users can bribe veDYST voters to vote on different pools to further increase DYST emissions for those pools to attract more liquidity and swap volume. If that weren't enough, the rate of DYST emissions is inversely proportional to the amount of DYST locked as veDYST. Less locked DYST means more total emissions, and more locked DYST means less total emissions. This may seem counterintuitive, but it is actually protective against inflation, because liquidity providers earn 90% of total DYST emissions, while veDYST voters earn 10% as an additional incentive. As the liquidity providers are the ones that receive the most emissions, it will be the aggregate of their collective decision that will dictate whether the emissions of DYST tokens will be more intense or more steady. This VE33 feature provides a general incentive for all users to lock as many DYST tokens as possible, creating yet another positive feedback loop. As more DYST is locked as veDYST, less total DYST emissions occur. Less emissions equals less inflation, so there is less circulating supply of DYST. This allows for the price of DYST to be higher. If liquidity provider rewards are priced higher, more users are incentivized to provide liquidity. More liquidity, of course, generates more swap volume and swap fees, creating more incentives to lock DYST as veDYST, and the positive feedback loop continues. Currently, nearly 75% of the total DYST supply is locked as veDYST. In a nutshell, VE33 brings participants with different objectives, governance stakers and liquidity providers, together under the common interest of generating the most swap fees. Liquidity providers provide deep liquidity to generate more swap fees, and governance stakers vote on pools that generate more swap fees. These powerful feedback loops are the reason VE33 has the ability to create deep liquidity on any and all networks. It also gives DeFi projects a powerful tool to incentivize their own liquidity and swap volume. It is a different model and one of cooperation between governance stakers and liquidity providers, united under the common goal of generating more of the highly sought after swap fees. This is a complicated topic, so even if you're only understanding a small percentage of the information I'm sharing with you, that is okay. The best place to stay up to date on announcements or contact us is through the Sphere Finance Discord. Links are in the description below. You can also leave us a comment and we will do our best to help. After all, this video and channel is for educational purposes only and is not financial advice. Click the link on screen now to watch another video. Thanks for watching, and always remember that you matter for who you are.